Alright there, you little demons. Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode. Listen, I'm aware of it too. I know what you're thinking. Something's changed. Something's not right about this. It's because I'm wearing a hat again, isn't it? I know. Also, I've got this screen here. Mainly because of the fact that I'm doing some redecorating on the other side of the workshop there, the foot of space that's behind it. And I just didn't want you looking at it thinking, oh, look, there's just holes in the wall and stuff like that. It's a work in progress, so I figured that having this here is the lesser of two evils. And plus it means that Sai can put whatever she wants on there. So that's fantastic as well. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week. This week we have none other than thank Biscuit XL, the biggest of biscuits, for their suggestion of popular video game mechanics that suddenly disappeared. It would have been so good if I'd learned to do a magic trick to make the kazoo disappear at that point, but I didn't. I'm unprepared, as you can tell. So let's have a chat about them today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 popular mechanics that suddenly disappeared. I should do a disappearing act after that. That was terrible. Number 8, active reload. Now, active reload is one of those elegantly simple but deliciously satisfying mechanics that probably should have taken the shooter realm by storm, and yet it didn't. Active reload was first popularised by the Gears of War franchise, effectively serving as a quick time event minigame in which you needed to hit the reload button during a small window. Now, if you succeed, you'll reload faster than usual, often with a small combat buff, but if you mistime your button press, the gun will jam for a couple of seconds, leaving you vulnerable to enemy attacks. And let's face it, it was always quite embarrassing because you'd know if somebody had absolutely buffooned themselves with this one, because they'd be running towards you and then they'd be like, it's good. It was a brilliant risk-reward mechanic and one that was seemingly relatively easy to implement, and so why the hell didn't it ever catch on? I mean, Gears of War creator Cliff Bleszinski even straight up encouraged other games to copy it. Despite a small scattering of subsequent shooters implementing active reload, the last major games to feature it were Returnal and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy back in 2021. Since then, it's been bafflingly absent from the gaming space, perhaps suggesting that developers just don't like the feature for one reason or another. I feel like they're missing out. I feel like active reload should be put into more things. Imagine that in Cooking Mama. Imagine that in Overcooked. Actually, don't do that, because I'm just thinking how stressful that game already is. Imagine it in Space Marine 2? Number 7, scalable multiplayer maps. Now, Perfect Dark Zero is far from a perfect game, but it did briefly popularise a multiplayer mechanic which should be clearly seen as a standard among shooters: scalable, adaptive map sizes. The game's multiplayer suite allowed for up to 32 players to compete in a bevy of match types, but ingeniously, the map size would also change to accommodate the number of players in its lobby. If, say, only 16 players were battling it out, then the map would block portions off, in turn shrinking it down to be more manageable for the lower player count. This ensured that you didn't spend half of the game time running around looking for enemies, as proves immensely frustrating for anyone caught in low populous multiplayer shooting matches. Hello, Battlefield. I know that you look beautiful, but sometimes I'm running around going, where the hell is everyone? Where the hell is everyone? Am I the only one here? Boom, headshot. Fantastic. I look forward to 15 minutes of running to die. So bad at that game. Despite this being one of Perfect Dark Zero's more fondly remembered mechanics, scalable maps simply just never caught on and have been a disappointing rarity amongst shooters for the past near 2 decades at this point. That even cream-of-the-crop FPS Call of Duty hasn't rolled out adaptive maps yet, well, it feels like a missed opportunity. Number 6, Vehicleous Shifting. Now, the most recent entry into the Driver franchise, 2011's Driver San Francisco, introduced an innovative new mechanic for the racing genre: shifting. And to be honest, this game's mechanic was totally coked out and utterly amazing. You see, you play as a comatose Tanner who finds himself able to switch between other drivers on a whim at any point. And it's utterly brilliant because you could be driving towards yourself effectively, switch over, swerve out of the way, and carry on avoiding that vehicular carnage that's just developing behind you. It was utterly brilliant to be able to just jump through traffic by using different drivers. Fantastic. So why the hell don't other games use this? I mean, sure, the likes of the Crew franchise dabbled in shifting between certain vehicles, but where open-world racing games are concerned, a full-fat version of this mechanic should just be a no-brainer. I mean, why doesn't, say, Forza Horizon let you instantly scour the map and leap into any car on the highway? Imagine that, also in Lego form. Everything better in Lego form, and Sai can agree with this. Though there are probably a ton of technical challenges involved with implementing such a mechanic, just gotta remember one thing, Driver did it brilliantly almost, let me just check my watch here, 15 years ago. It's a strange watch. Number 5, Blade Mode. So Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance touts the freaking awesome Blade Mode, in which players can slow down time and brutally dismember enemies, because is there any other way, to their heart's content. Usually their hearts, as you pull it out from their chest, dice it up real fine, serve it back to them, and they go, ooh, that's lovely present. But more than that though, Blade Mode could be used to damage vehicles, destroy enemy cover, and even deflect bullets, which is utterly badass, my friend. In fact, the slicing system was so wild that it actually had to be scaled back during development due to an early version of Blade Mode, and this is a direct quote, completely destroying the level design. God damn, I want to see that version. Now, it's fair to say that such a complex dismemberment system likely creates some serious logistical issues for any video game that implements it, but all the same, it's surprising that we've seen it basically nowhere in the decade plus since Revengeance hit stores, especially with the developer's extensive ongoing work in the action genre. Now, sometimes people just want to slice a bad guy up into 50 billion itty-bitty pieces, and it's sad to say that most games don't actually allow this basic and admittedly somewhat unhinged pleasure. Number 4, PickTen. Right, so back in 2012, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 made a serious change to the hit FPS franchise's class system with its PickTen mechanic. When crafting a custom build, characters were given 10 slots with which to fill with guns, perks, and grenades as they saw fit. Now, the ability to balance and modulate your build, perhaps slotting in more perks than weapon attachments, for instance, made it instantly popular with fans and ensured that it returned for 3 subsequent Call of Duty games. But in the 6 years since then, PickTen has been entirely absent from the series, effectively being replaced with the Gunsmith customization system. And while Gunsmith isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, it does lack the tight balancing and fun strategic element of PickTen, where players needed to make tricky choices in order to bolster their loadout. Now, here's my 2 cents on this. I think that basically Activision looked at all of the player base of young teens that popularized this video game, and they were like, oh, they don't like it if they're told no, that they have to make difficult choices. Oh, in this game about killing people, don't want them to have to think. Better do the gunsmith thing instead. That's easy. Everyone wins this way around. And most frustratingly of all, last year's Modern Warfare 3 was reportedly planning to bring back PickTen, but then developer Infinity Ward ended up scrapping it. Sadly, with Gunsmith so firmly established now, it seems unlikely that we'll see PickTen again. But what's stopping other shooters from implementing a similar system? Make it happen! Number 3, body part damage. Now, Deus Ex is one of the most beloved video games, and say it with me, kids, of all time! And that is for many, many reasons, and quite arguably, it is the greatest immersive sim ever made. But one mechanic, which it probably doesn't get enough credit for, is its approach to body damage, whereby players have separate health values for each part of their body. The head, torso, left arm, left leg, and right leg. Let's not forget about the right leg, guys, come on. Doesn't get enough credit. Let's just give a round of applause to the right leg. Now, while losing all the head or torso health will lead to death, players can have their limbs whittled down to 0 HP and suffer the consequences of having reduced accuracy or leg damage, meaning that you have to crawl around looking for a medkit. It's a fascinating mechanic which forces the player to think outside of the box compared to, well, just about every other game out there. Now, whereas the Fallout franchise has also featured body part and limb damage throughout the years, that's really about it. It adds such a fun and potentially hilarious element of strategy to the gameplay that it should definitely be more prevalent in games with substantial survival elements. I will say, though, it is so funny when it happens in Fallout in particular, because you know when you stand on like a landmine or you hear a tripwire going, you're just kind of like, Oh dear. Your character in that reality is probably just like, I'm dead, this is it. But in real life, you're basically just going like, right, and pause the game, get the stim packs ready, and oh, my leg's flying over there. Oh, stamp that right in the stump. Woo! Back on like a boomerang. Number 2, the Nemesis system. Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor was widely praised for its highly creative and ludicrously entertaining Nemesis system, which kept track of players' interactions with the Uruk foes that you found throughout the game. If an Uruk survived an encounter with you, for instance, they might show up later with memories of the prior fight and even retain injuries from it. Uruks who managed to then kill the player would be promoted to captain, and players could actually use this to instigate infighting amongst the ranks to unsettle Sauron's army. It was a wonderfully clever way to make even the most pedestrian of combat situations feel more meaningful. Yet aside from reappearing in 2017 sequel Shadow of War, Nemesis has unfortunately gone the way of the dodo. Unlike every other mechanic on this list, however, we do actually have a reason as to why Nemesis fell off the face of the earth. As it turns out, Warner Brothers pursued a patent for the system in the years following Shadow of Mordor's release, and it was finally granted in 2021. And so, despite Nemesis clearly being a mechanic with ripe applications across so many game genres, developers were spooked out of even trying to imitate it, lest they felt the might of Warner Brothers lawyers. Now, Assassin's Creed Odyssey's mercenary system kind of dipped a toe in with its very dumbed down facsimile of Nemesis, but that's about it. Though Warner's upcoming Wonder Woman game will reportedly be using the system again, it should not have taken them roughly a decade to bring it back off the bench. Seriously, it's all anyone talks about when talking about those 2 Mordor games. Come on, you've got it. You've told the world that you're going to use it and that it is yours. Why are you doing nothing with it? And number 1, multiplayer bullet time. Now, when it was first announced that Max Payne 3 would feature an online multiplayer mode, most fans were simply left thinking, what? Sorry, come again? What? How the hell is this going to work? Now, given that the ability to slow down time and gun down your enemies is integral to the very gameplay fabric of this franchise, it was tough to consider quite how Rockstar would implement such a feature in a multiplayer fashion. But damn it, they pulled it goddamn off. Cleverly, Max Payne 3's multiplayer bullet time operates on line-of-sight activation, meaning that if somebody turns on bullet time, anyone they see and anyone who sees them will be similarly entered into slow. But beyond that, if anyone sees another slowed down person, they too will then slow down, ensuring that players away from bullet time action aren't forced to encounter sudden slow out of nowhere. Could you imagine how annoying that would be if that happened to you? So you're nowhere near the firefight that's going on with these people just diving around there, and you're just like running up some stairs like, God's sake, and then away. Whoa. Now, though the potential for clunkiness definitely speaks for itself, it actually worked shockingly well, and yet received virtually no uptake in the wider action gaming sphere. Now, granted, bullet times' popularity began to fade in the years following Max Payne 3's release, but the game found a delightfully devilish more clever solution to a tricky technical head-scratcher, and should have received far more credit for it. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video game mechanics that suddenly disappeared. I hope that you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below, and pop your suggestions for next week's episode down there as well. And while you're down there, check out this little logo that's on my chest. It's actually from a friend's clothing brand called Pantheon Clothing. Use the code Jules20 if you go over to his website, and you get a tricky better discount, my friend. I do look after you, my friends. Also, I just want to try and help him out. He's a good friend. He's a good friend. But anyway, that's enough about me and this amazing merch. Let's talk about social media plugs, where you can follow me over here on the social medias here, and you can follow my lovely editor, Sai, over on her social medias over there as well. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself well, my friend. Hope you're treating yourself with that love and respect that you goddamn deserve, all right? You're a big ledge, and you deserve the bloody best, all right? Now get out there and smash your life goals. I believe in you. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll see you soon. Hopefully with less awkward green screen. And Sai, I apologise profusely, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be a nightmare to edit around. Big love. Bye-bye.